Alrighty, here we are, another week, another live broadcast. Thanks so much for joining me. Those of you who I've seen already in the chat room, if you could do the usual, just drop a comment in so that I can see that you can at least hear it and you can see the countdown. That would be great. Alrighty, hopefully you can still hear me. I didn't have much talking going on during that countdown there because I saw that a lot of you saying that you could hear the countdown, you could hear my voice. So I'm just going to carry on like you can still hear me now, but you should be able to see me. So listen, folks, thank you so much for joining me. It's great already to see how busy that chat room's been. It's quite interesting. I've had a bit of a chuckle. People talking about, is he wearing foundation? Is he wearing lip? Just, yeah, brilliant. This is very nostalgic tonight. with my mate Dave Clayton being back on. It takes me back to the He Shoots, He Draws podcast days. But really looking forward to what Dave's got to share with you. It's something new to me, very, very new to me, this Adobe Express stuff. I've kind of avoided using it. I know Dave has, he's going to talk about that. But very recently, he's got more into it and he's shared some stuff with me, which has got me really enthused for it. And I'm going to be able to show you what Dave's going to go through, but there's one thing I want to show you as well. But before we get into all that, let's just quickly go through some admin as we do every week. The first thing to let you know about is this coming Saturday, the 15th. I shall be in West Wales in a place called Kidwelly. I'm honoured. I'm actually opening an exhibition for a friend of mine called Nigel Thomas. And Nigel is a military veteran who's a landscape photographer, and he's got his very first exhibition. It's being held. I'll put all the details in the description and on my website for tomorrow. But he's doing his first ever exhibition. He's asked me to open it, and I just cannot wait. His photography is just stunning. And he's doing this whole exhibition in aid of mental health awareness. And it's all to do with mental health awareness and help through photography. It is absolutely stunning. So I can't wait for that. That's on Saturday and Sunday, but I'll be there opening that on the Saturday. Now, keeping in mind with Wales here, on the 22nd, I shall be at the Wales and West show. Fabulous show. Great venue, the International Convention Centre there, just off the M4. I shall be there on the Saturday, the 22nd, on behalf of Permajet. And I think I'm on stage at 11:30 doing some stuff with printing, all about behind the scenes of, you know, what if it all goes wrong, why is it going wrong, how to fix it and get the best results. I've also got to let you know about, I haven't got a link just yet, but I'm doing a free webinar and it's on the 11th of July with Calibrite. It's 6 p.m. UK time. I'll get all the links to you as soon as I've got them. But basically, I'm going to be going through a complete retouch, portrait retouch, a new portrait, going through every single step only using Lightroom. And I've done this recently with a new workflow that I've got, showed it at the Lightroom Virtual Summit, and it's been an absolute storm. It's gone down really, really well. So Calibrite have invited me to do a webinar, and I'll be going through that. And the other thing, before we get Dave's promo up and running, is this, the 39 to 45 Portraits Project. If you've kind of seen what I've been doing over the last few years, you'll know that that was something I was working on a heck of a lot prior to the COVID pandemic. That then put a stop on it, but it was kind of like a natural stop because it got a little bit much for me because we were losing veterans that I was getting very, very close to. So it became almost weekly as like a bereavement, and it got too much. So I stopped doing it. I've had a bit of a break. Obviously, recently we've had the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And I've kind of got this urge to want to get out there because obviously we saw there were veterans, World War II veterans, you know, in Normandy for the celebrations and whatever, for the anniversary. And it's kind of given me that fire in my belly to get out there with more urgency because there's still some veterans that I want to photograph and get involved in the project because there's going to be a big book produced. So what it's a bit of a plea, I guess, really. If you know any veterans out there, and this is talking about the UK, if you know any veterans out there, please get in touch so that I can maybe, you know, get my skates on and get out there and get to photograph them. So that's a bit of a plea. But I'll kind of go through the admin again right at the very end. But let's not waste too much time here. I've got my mate Dave Clayton to come in. And as usual, in every week, I've put together some kind of a slideshow, little promo thing, and it's no different for Dave. Even though he's not a photographer, I've managed to put something together for him with the stuff that he sent over. And it has, when I've put this together, certainly this morning, I did it last minute, it has been a trip down memory lane. Some of the photos that are in there, there's pictures of stuff when Dave's teaching, there's some of his design work, some book covers. So there's a whole mixture of stuff. So I'll play that for you, and then we'll get the main man in. So this is my mate Dave Clayton's promo. I hope he likes it.
Hi, I'm Dave Clayton, a graphic designer from the UK. Hi everyone, I'm Dave Clayton. Hi, I'm Dave Clayton.
Go on, I hope he liked it. I was watching his face on the little screen just over here. Let's waste no more time. Let's bring him in. Here he is. Hello,
Mate,
Dave.
mate.
Go on, what do you reckon then? Is that all right?
That was really good, actually. I mean, I'm very guilty of this. I say to a lot of people, I don't really put my work online,
Yeah.
because a big part of my working life has been day job. So all the stuff I make is for the company I work for, and I can't put it in my portfolio. But obviously, seeing the book covers and a lot of the images you showed were from my Photoshop user magazine tutorials.
Yeah.
So it's like showing how to make that stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we were saying off air, like we have probably got 1,000 photos of us doing
And more, I'm
on our
sure.
adventures and more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
some
that was
maybe that
very
we
good. I
can't
liked it.
show, but
Yes.
but listen, this is great. Like I was saying before, I brought you in there right at the very start. This feels for me very nostalgic. You know, taking us back to when me and you
Absolutely.
both started out doing that He Shoots, He
Yeah.
Draws podcast. Obviously, that was audio only, but we did record it where we could see each other. Do you know what I mean? So you know,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
was all good fun. So yeah, this is nice getting you back together again. I'm enjoying this. But listen, let's not waste any time, because I know there's some stuff that you want to share regards to Adobe Express. But before we get to that, let's just kind of give people a bit of a potted history about who you are, for those who don't know, and what's kind of led you to this point now where you are doing all this kind of graphic design work. So this is for the folks who have no idea. Who are you?
Yeah. So I'm Dave. As you saw from the intro, I'm Dave Clayton. Yeah, it's funny because I'm gonna kind of set the ground for why we're here today talking about this. And back in the day, I started getting my hands dirty in design before computers. So I was using photocopiers, Letraset, drawing things, cutting things out of newspapers, cutting type out of magazines, and like typesetting on paper. So bear in mind, I come from a place that had no computers, but I loved graphic design. And then my first entry into that was a job way back in the 90s. I got to use Quark Express on one of the first computers I got to use. And I was always a lover of print and magazines and books. And seeing that there was software that would make it easier for me to make these things I love making that didn't require me using Letraset and scissors and glue. And that's an important thing to remember, because I used to do it one way and something came along to make that easier for me. And then over the years, I would buy every magazine that had a disc on the front that had software, and I'd download it onto my PC and just teaching myself all the time. Started on Paint Shop Pro, and then gradually, I'd find different bits of software and I'd reverse engineer. I'd keep a lot of pamphlets and flyers. And weirdly, I never got a job in graphic design for a very long time. I did sales, I did admin, office admin, engineering. And so until really there was this kind of point in time where suddenly the software had progressed and I started to get a bit of an itch for it. Like, now I want to do a job. And the first job I got was in marketing in the very late 90s. And that's where I started to get into web building, HTML, Photoshop for the first time. I remember, going from the old versions into the old Creative Suite, and really it was
Out of
just a
interest,
case.
Dave, what was the version of Photoshop that you were using when you first started? Can you remember?
Yeah, 5.5. Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
That had layers, right?
God. Do you know, I can remember. I honestly can remember the day I was given the disc, because let's be honest, a lot of us, yeah, got to
Yeah.
test it first. But yeah, I can remember being given the disc of Photoshop 5.5, and I'd been using Paint Shop Pro, and all the jobs I got were, can you take so and so's face and put it on someone else's body? And which is good. It was good fun. It taught me kind of retouching and Photoshop skills. But marketing and kind of that kind of desktop publishing creation was always kind of the love at the back of it, and the Photoshop and the images was kind of making the content to go in those things. So it wasn't until I got into a marketing role that I became a marketing manager for a company, and when I lived up in Colville. And by then I'd kind of got a thirst for, right, I know what I want to make, I know how I want to make it, and I know what it's for. And we've always said fit for purpose. Like, what is it for? and as time's gone on, I've found my path more in the creative design, and then really, my sweet spot. I mean, a lot of people don't know. We met in 2010, and we
Mm,
were meeting Scott Kelby for the first time in London, and I'd just been to Photoshop World, and Glyn had been a year before, I think,
that's right.
2009. So I got on this path of, oh, so there's these places you can go and learn. There are these people that teach you this stuff and teach you the skills, and I really got into that. And you were obviously a photographer. I was a graphic designer, and we were sort of both running in tandem, but you were always a little bit ahead of me. So I kind of would come to events with you, and I'd sit back,
Mm,
and then photographers would be, oh, what do you shoot, Dave? I don't, I'm a graphic designer. Oh my God, I need a graphic designer. So you just get the jobs making stuff. And that's what I love doing. Is I love making stuff. I'm not scared of a blank canvas. Give me an
mhm.
idea and a blank canvas, and that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
So it's progressed. I've learnt more, and obviously technology now has come along, and software's
I'll
just like
say. Mm.
moving at a fast pace. Now you've got AI coming into the mix. So it's kind of, this trajectory, that's easy to
Good
say,
word.
has got us to this point today
Yeah.
where we are talking about what we're talking about.
Yeah. All
And
right. So
I've been teaching design, and that's the thing as well, was I've been doing it for so many years that I actually realized, a bit like working for my dad in engineering, I never realized how many life skills I learned in
yeah,
engineering
yeah,
that I still use today. And the same
yeah.
applies with going back to the old graphic design without computers to where I am today. I like teaching that kind of foundational knowledge to people who want to get started, rather than trying to teach the people who know everything already.
Hmm.
And I get so much joy from it now. And that's the thing I look forward to doing more, is actually writing, teaching, speaking, all of this kind of stuff.
Cool. Well, obviously we'll talk more maybe towards the end as well. The fact that,
Yeah, yeah,
you are obviously now a presenter. You presented at events around the world. You got your own book out and whatever. So things have really moved on since you were the guy that was just kind of there supporting me, which is what you did for so many
yeah.
years, supporting me. And it's nice now that over more recent times, you're the one that's been pushed forward and you're the one that's sharing, which is only right, because obviously there's a lot of
Thank
stuff that
you.
you have to share with folks. So, but obviously tonight then, it's a bit of a weird one. So I never thought this would happen. I never thought you'd be sharing stuff about Adobe Express. But it's
Yeah, I know.
interesting this last week that we've been talking, you show me some things and you've genuinely got me excited, because I've been messenger saying things I've
Yeah.
been doing. But for those who don't know, Adobe Express, I'll let you explain how you would
Okay.
explain what it is, Dave. But for those who don't know, Adobe Express is a platform that you can have for free. It does
Yes.
have limitations, but for
Hmm.
anybody that's got a Creative Cloud subscription of any kind, be it the
Yeah.
photographer plan or the full plan or whatever, you have, I believe, a premium membership of the Adobe Express. So everything and anything that we show you tonight, when Dave shows you especially, you've got access to, and it's just phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. But Dave, how would you summarize in a couple of, I don't know, is it possible in a couple of sentences, what is
Yeah.
Adobe Express and why would people like me and people I can see in the chat room? I see my friend Ian, my friend Ian Monroe, obviously Ian's a mate of yours. I think of Ian as will be very open and say that he is not somebody who's computer minded. And sometimes he'd love to get on and do stuff, but he has to have other people to help him out. And thankfully, there are friends of ours who do, like Gers and Anthony and what have you. But I think Adobe Express is something that Ian could maybe embrace to help him to get some stuff out there, because it is just so incredibly intuitive. But
Yeah.
what is it? What is Adobe Express?
Well, I mean, for language that I guess a lot of people will be used to, you've probably heard of Canva. Canva's been around a lot longer, and Canva was and still is a portal where you could go and make things that you need, digital assets, where maybe you didn't have that graphic design background. You're not a graphic designer, but you wanted to be able to make something. And for a simple flyer for an event, a local show, or even a kids party invite, what you wanted to be able to do is kind of just have a play and come up with something yourself. And Canva did that, and it was very, very basic in the start and grew massively popular. More people were using it. And
Mm,
then obviously with the Adobe thing coming along, they decided, well, we can make something like this, but personal opinion, I think it's better. The reason I think it's better is because it integrates with the rest of the Adobe software, and that for me
Yeah.
has always been why I've always used Adobe. So Adobe Express is a place where you can go on a website and you can make pretty much anything
Mm.
you ever think you need to make. And
Yeah.
don't worry if you're not a graphic designer, because it's full of templates, it's full of helpful resources. They're things that are pre-made for you to edit yourself. So it's not, it kind of takes away that fear factor of, oh my God, I don't know how to use Photoshop, I don't know how to use
But it,
Illustrator.
but it's not just for design either, is it? I mean, there's things
Oh,
like
video, social
you can
media.
edit video, you can do all
Yeah.
your social media, you can schedule stuff, you can create captions for videos, all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, Adobe Express, pretty good stuff. So
Yeah.
I know that you've got some stuff to share. Do you want to? Should we dive in? Just go for it, and you show
Well,
some stuff, or
just before we do, because we
oh,
said we
go
were
on then.
gonna mention why. Why, mate?
Oh, go
Why
on.
all of a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sudden? Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yes. Sorry. Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Let's rewind. You've resisted this for quite some time. Being a graphic designer, almost dare I say, poo-pooed it, thinking,
Yeah.
that's designed for kids. Why now then? I did have this written down on my little crib sheet. Why now then are you embracing it?
Because being like an old school graphic designer, I learnt the apps. So if someone says to me, make a flyer, I'm going to use InDesign. I'm going to use Illustrator for a logo. I'm going to use Photoshop for making image related assets. And then I piece them all together myself. And I have a lot of control over it. And I never really liked Canva, particularly. I never needed it because I knew I could make the stuff myself. But when Adobe Express was introduced, it kind of piqued my interest because it was okay, here's the thing. But why I resisted it at first was because it felt very gimmicky,
Yeah.
and it kind of arrived around the birth of AI as well. So what I found was a lot of the content being created I didn't find useful. It felt
Mm.
childish. It felt like a gimmick. Like
Yeah.
everyone that was showing what to make had unicorns and kittens and gorillas on the moon
Spacesuits and
and
yeah.
things like, oh, let's make a flyer for the ice cream party. When was the last time you ever went to an ice cream party? And it it just felt like it existed for fun, but I couldn't really see the benefit in it for me to give it any kind of credence to go, okay, well, here's another
Yeah.
tool for me. But because I like to keep in touch with all the things that are happening and looking at software involvement and on what Adobe are doing, it had features missing that I would have wanted. And
Mm.
over time they've been building it and building it and building it. And I went
Yeah.
to a couple of Adobe Max London, and I went to an Adobe event in Bristol called Create Now. And once I could see this version today, everything that's in it, I was like, finally, a tool that I can add to what I already use. Not replace, but you'll see from the things we're going to look at is as a designer, it helps me help you. So with Glim particularly, I've got an example in here. Glim would say, "Oh, Dave, could you help me do some YouTube thumbnails, or could you make me a flyer for this event I'm doing?" And I would do it for him. Whereas with Adobe Express, what we're able to do is collaborate. So I can actually still go in and make stuff in Photoshop, but I can upload it into Adobe Express as like a template for Glyn, and he can then
Mm.
edit because I'm not always available. I've got a day job and he might want something quick. So it's just a way of having this place where we can be creative, but be in control of what we want to make rather than
Yeah.
be led into making stuff that looks like a lot of other things.
Yeah,
So
cool. It's there's some interesting comments coming in already. One from Deborah, who's put here, Dave. She has put, as a graphic designer and now more into photography, I understand Dave's position. I'm very interested to see what I am missing. Deborah, I'm totally with you because I definitely was missing something as well. But what Dave showed me this past few days, I'm finding myself getting very excited a lot lately, Dave, especially with all the sort of enhancements that we had very recently with Lightroom, which has just been phenomenal.
yeah,
And then you show me this. I'm like, my God. I mean, when I show my stuff like after you've done yours, you actually see my scheduler now. You actually see my scheduler. But another little comment here before you jump on, Dave, is Lisa Holcomb. So glad to see you guys together and loving that Dave has shown us this software. It's a game changer for social media creators. Thanks, Dave. It totally is, Lisa. Now the penny's dropped for me. I think, yeah, I totally agree. So, Dave, do you want to kind of do you want to show us some stuff then?
Yeah. I mean, that's quite an interesting point. Was the other thing you've got to remember now is I also come from a time where we printed everything. Now, social media, we consume vast amounts of content daily for hours. Our thumb is just, we see it, we scroll, we see it, we scroll. We're seeing things, we're seeing all this content being made online that's either being made in Photoshop, Illustrator, Canva, Adobe Express, any of the other apps. We see this content. We don't really question how it's been made. We just see it, consume it, move on.
That's right.
So from a social media point of view, I think that's where this tool has a great strength, because more people are creating more social content. So a tool to go from creation to output, and it's live. It's you can make stuff so quickly and get it out there and still make it look good.
I think the thing before you come in as well, I keep saying this, but, one other thing to mention is I see my friend Nigel, whose exhibition I'm doing, opening, is Nigel's just quickly saying there, is it Express part of the Creative Cloud subscription? Nigel, yes, it is. You get the premium version, but there's also a free version that you can have. But if you've got any cloud subscription, you've got the premium full works stuff. But the other thing, Dave, to mention was as well that what you're going to go through now, we can also do on mobile. So this isn't, certainly like the video editing and all that kind of stuff as well. We're not being restricted to being on a computer. We can do it on iPads, on our phones. It's just phenomenal. And I think after tonight, we have talked about doing a regular segment to do short video get-togethers for people to show more stuff, haven't we? As time goes on.
And we had another idea as well, which we'll mention at the end.
We'll mention at the end. Right. Okay. So, are you going to? Do you want me to dive over to your screen and show some stuff?
Yeah. So let me switch screens on my computer. So I'm looking at the one.
I'm going to dive onto your screen right now, and I'm going to bring you in on the bottom left-hand corner. I think it's the bottom left-hand corner as I'm looking at it anyway.
Yeah. So as Glyn just said, obviously it's web-based. It's also on the iPhone and iPad. But tonight we'll just look at the web-based. So to find it, you just need to go to new.express.adobe.com. It used to be express.adobe.com, but they made it better, so they called it new. So I don't know what the next version will be, newer. So yeah, new.express.adobe.com. That gives you access to this straight away. Now, I think you still need to make an Adobe account, because obviously you're going to be sharing things and you want to be able to integrate it. So you will need that, but that's free anyway. The thing you're going to get by having a Creative Cloud or paying for it is you get access to all the Adobe fonts. If you have an account with Adobe Stock, you'll be able to access your Adobe Stock account. However, it still comes with a bunch of fonts, and there's over 1 million free images and assets on stock.adobe.com. When you do a search, you can do free, and you can go in and find let's say over 1 million assets and photos. And I use a lot of them in when I'm teaching. So you've still got a vast amount of content that you can use to help you. But this is basically where you're going to come. It's new docs Adobe Express. It welcomes you. Welcome. What do you want to make? And you're kind of spoilt for choice here, because it helps you all the way. It holds your hand. So if I want to make stuff for social media, I can make Instagram square post, TikTok video, story, Facebook. If I want to make video, it will give me my video options. Photos, I can do different things with photos. Can even make logos. That's the bit I don't like so much. But documents and marketing, so you can make flyers, invitations, cards. So this is kind of like just your starting point. And when you're, say, let's go back to video, we can make standard videos or social videos. So we get a choice. Again, it's always leading you to the bit that you think you want to make. Now, You can also create custom size. So if you've got something very specific you want to make, you can go and create your own custom size. And honestly, even as I'm saying this, I'm thinking of things I want to tell you, like, oh, and you can do that. So I've got to pace myself. Just moving down quickly, this is another really useful thing as well. How many times have you wanted to quickly resize a video or crop a video or convert an image to a GIF? Even things like, I'm just going to scroll along because it's not showing, create a QR code. There's so much content now that uses QR codes, and a lot of people don't even know sometimes where to go and make a QR code. So all these little helpful things you can do are all right here. Come down here and you've got things like text to image, which is this AI creation where you can create images to use inside of your artwork. We've got the generative fill. So you've got tools that are in Photoshop are also here inside Adobe Express. You can even use text to template. And I did try this earlier, and you just type in something like, I don't know, children's birthday party with balloons. And what it will do is it will come up with, I think it gives you 3 versions to start with, of a template, an editable template based on all the content it already has. So even if you can't see anything you like, but you've got an idea, you can type that in and it will help you get started. Text effects we're not really going to look at today, but this is in Adobe Firefly, and Adobe Firefly is integrated into this. So that's their AI engine, and so you can do text effects. So you can type in a word and say, make it look like flowers or make it look like gold, and it will do that for you.
Dave,
We've also
just
got,
quickly.
yeah,
Dave, just quickly. Look who's popped
yeah.
in to say hello. Dave Cross has popped in to say
Oh,
hello.
pressure.
Hi, Dave. So yeah, no pressure, Dave. Folks in the chat room, if you don't know who Dave Cross is, I don't know where you've been, but Dave Cross, great friend of ours. I don't know how, he's been teaching Photoshop and what have you for many, many years, but he is the founder and creator of the Virtual Summits series. So he's there. But no pressure, Dave. No pressure, mate. I'll
No,
let you
Dave,
crack
I've
on.
learned more from Dave Cross than than I'll ever care to admit, honestly. Even to this
Yeah.
day, if Dave's teaching, I'm watching it, and yeah, his
One
summit
take,
is
Dave. One
amazing. I
take,
know.
Dave.
One take,
Right.
Dave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to your screen, mate.
Yeah. So enough about that DC. Back to this DC. The other cool thing that we'll get into a little bit later is it's not just about this. This is one of the things I really love in Adobe Express that I can definitely see a great use for me is scheduling. There used to be these things like Hootsuite and all these apps you had to pay for to schedule your social media. Right inside Adobe Express, you can create whatever you want for your social media account. You connect your social media accounts to Adobe Express so that when you create it, again, we're going to look at something else that's really cool inside here. You've got the scheduler. You can schedule those images straight to social media. You can either publish straight away or you can schedule it over the week, and quickly you can move them around. You can go in and edit them. But for me, this tool being available for free is one of the great marketing tools of this, because I don't even have to create in Adobe Express. I can upload stuff I've made elsewhere and
Yeah.
then use this to schedule my social media. So then down here, we've got some templates. So this will update all the time because there's people uploading templates constantly. So like at the moment, seasonal, we're in Pride Month, so there's a lot of Pride content. There's also some add-ons. We're not going to look at these today, but you can actually say connect to Dropbox account so that you can go and easily bring images in from Dropbox. There's a load of apps here I've never heard of. Then you've got the Firefly generative fill. These are all the kind of Firefly features at the bottom. And you can see down here, right at the very bottom, these are things I've been making while I've been talking to Glyn prior to this and sort of practicing and uploading things. So this is just the interface. This is where we start to make things. Now, over on the left-hand side, we've got, this is the home page. Now, your stuff, this will be anything you've made, whether it's been inside an app, so Adobe Sketch, Adobe Draw, things that I've uploaded and saved on the Creative Cloud as well. We can create a brand. So For instance, for Glyn, if I'm going to be creating something for him, I've created his brand already. So his logos are in there. So if I just click on that, I've got Glyn's logos that he can go into this and he can start to make things because his logos are here, his color palette's here, the font that I always use, and an image that he actually sent to me from Lightroom that I downloaded and uploaded as an asset for him to use here. We've also got all of our templates. So you can actually start to go through and kind of filter these out depending on what you want and explore what kinds of different versions are available. Scheduler, which I haven't scheduled anything in.
I'm going to show I'll show mine later on because I've got loads of stuff in there.
And even things like Learn, there is a ton of help out there. Right at the end, I'm going to recommend someone to go and watch if you kind of really want to get into getting your hands dirty from minute one. But here's a whole bunch of content to help you learn what you want to do inside, and then obviously your add-ons. So there's a lot in there. We're going to cover some of it, but
so because now you've whet the appetite. Here's this, here's that. I mean, there's tons of stuff in there. It's just navigating that kind of put me off originally. What do you want to show for your first kind of this is how you can do X?
Okay, so the first thing I'll show is I think that the thing for me that was the most important was the fact that I can create something in Photoshop first and bring it into Adobe Express, because I obviously, being a designer, I know what I want to do. So if I need to keep switching screens here. So if I want to go and create something that I've made, all I have to do is start from my own content. So I'm going to come over here into this folder I've got for this session tonight, and I made a sign up screen for the end. So I'm just going to open that, and it's going to give me two options. I can either add the PSD as a linked image, but you won't get the layers because you have to go and edit it in Photoshop. The brilliant bit is I can edit the PSD file as a new file inside Adobe Express. So I'm going to click on that. And what it's going to do, it's going to look at the file. It's going to start to see, okay, what's inside it. What images, it's going to pull the images, it's going to pull text, and it's basically creating it starts off a PSD file. It's turning it into a PSDC, which is a cloud file. So there you go. It's already done. We've converted it. It's saved in your stuff, which we know is over here. And I'm going to open it. Now, the thing it will sometimes do is it won't put things where you originally had them. Now, this might just be something that's in this current version that will improve, but I created 1920 by 1080, and there's a couple of little things here, like I didn't do lowercase a and t there, so I can just click on it and edit it just like I was in Photoshop. If I want to come down here, I can select the text, I can come over here, it recommends some other fonts I can use, some different styles. I can change the font here manually, the style of the font, the size. I can even do things like create a circle. And if anyone's tried to do this text on a path circle in Photoshop, will know how frustrating it is. You've got all these effects, color, opacity, text effects, shadow. So I can add these things to my file here. But what I love about this is a 1920 by 1080. So this is kind of a screen size if I was using it in a presentation. But let's say I also want to create some other assets from this. So I don't just want it to be this. I want to make it an actual post on social media. So what do I need to do? I need to go off onto Google. I need to look up the sizes of the social media posts in pixels. I've got to write them all down, and then I've got to go into Photoshop, and then I've got to start making them all individually. No, not anymore, because where I can start in Photoshop, I can now come up here and click on this resize button. And what it's going to give me is every single popular template for all of the social media platforms that I'd ever want to create for. So this will just keep growing and growing and growing. But I'm going to go back to the top here. So I can do a manual one. So at the moment, I've got 1920 by 1080. But let's say I want to make an Instagram square post. I want to make an Instagram story, and I'm going to make, let's do, I'll do a YouTube thumbnail as well, because it's slightly different size. So now I've selected those, what do I need to do? Well, if we come down here, we'll see the resize is grayed out. That's because we're not resizing one thing, we're resizing to multiple. So I'm just going to click duplicate and resize. And this is one of the cool things that I think is great. Look how quick it converted that into all the different sizes. Now, I can now go into this one, and if I want, I can now resize a few things. I've got some assets in here, so it's not going to, it's not always going to make the perfect one, because it's always down to taste and what you want. But I now can go ahead, I can select different assets, bring them down.
Dave, at the minute we're kind of just not seeing all of your the side of your screen where you've got all those different things that you can do. Are you zoomed in more, or is it the resolution?
No, let me just, there's that.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah, we're seeing it now. That's better.
Oh,
yeah, that's better.
is that better?
It's getting there. A bit more. There you go.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Perfect. Cheers,
Okay.
Andrew, for mentioning that. Cheers, buddy.
Sorry. Yeah. So I've still got some options here where I can add different elements in. Let's say, like at the moment, I've got a picture in the background of me. Well, as soon as I click on the image, I've got some options over here, so I can go and fill it with, I can use generative fill to do something. So I can remove a background, I can change the opacity on it. I've got some effects down here. Now, what's really cool is as I scroll along on these arrows and go back to look at, say, this one here, I've got this design newsletter. So what I want to do is just resize some of this, like so. Let's just bring this down here, and my text. And you can just see how easy and intuitive this is. You're not worrying about layers. You're not worrying about, faffing around in Photoshop trying to do things. But what I like about it is, all right, this isn't the most dynamic example, but I can bring some animation into this. So as soon as I use animate on here, so let's click on this. What do I want it to do? I want it to animate. So I'm going to have the text come in just from the left-hand side, or I can have it spin. I can have it drop. So I'm not even in After Effects now. I'm not in After Effects. I'm not in Premiere Pro. I'm still in Adobe Express, but it means I can start to play with these things. So I've selected the image. So now what do I want to do? I can have my image drop down.
So cool, isn't it?
Yeah. I can still rotate it. But it's so cool, because the thing that's going to happen now is I've created animation. So let's just do bungee. So let's say I want this on social media now, and but it's moving. Now I can't download it as an image because it will be static. So because I've added animation, now I can come up here and go download, and it'll automatically say MP4 best for video, audio and animation. So now I can go ahead and just download that. I can still do it as a flat graphic, so I can just have it as a still, but it means now I can just download. It will go ahead and download it for me, and that will save it. And the other thing I said to Glyn was, you keep going to look for file save. You don't need to because it's saving it as you work. It's in the cloud. It's just, if it crashes, I can refresh. In fact, just to prove a point, let's just come out here. I'm going to refresh the page, and it's because it'll better work. It's going to bring me straight back to where I was. Nothing was lost. It's all still there. So yeah, that's the one thing you kind of got to get over. But look over here on the right hand side. We've got layers as well. So we can start to move things around on layers. So if I come back over to download, now this one's obviously not such a fine example. So I'm just going to go and bring, before also the other thing to do as well is add titles to your files so you know what they are. So like I know it's an Instagram story. And also up here, you can also retitle. So I would put like DC social free book. So I know that that's one of my assets. But if I just come back to the home screen again, I just want to show you one more thing. Where are we? Okay, this one. So I just brought in a PSD file, but let's say you didn't want to use PSD. Let's say you're using Adobe Illustrator. So again, I can open an Adobe Illustrator file, which is a .ai, which is really confusing because you've got AI and then Adobe Illustrator is also AI. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to edit. We're going to create a new Express file. It's going to evaluate the file. It's going to look at how it's coming in and what's coming in with it. And for this, I know that I've created layers. It's ready to go. I open it up and straight away you can see I've got all of my information here. Now, again, it's done a couple of little funky things, so I can just edit these. And, you know, again, this might be a bug. It might be just something that it's learning as it goes. But honestly, the speed at which you're getting to this point, these things are, you know, they're not even an issue really. If I just highlight this text quickly, I can come over here. I can change the alignment so it's center aligned. But you know, this is how quick it is, and this is what I love about it: is the fact that it's intuitive and it's time saving. You know, I can do this in Adobe Illustrator, but then I've got to create artboards. I've got to export it. I've got to put it in a folder. Then I've got to bring it in somewhere else. Whereas here, I'm confident that the work that I've created that I want to put out there, this can handle it. And this is what made me embrace it, was because it was able to do this. It will take the work I've done.
That social media stuff there, I mean, that's when you first showed me that during the week, and you said about the fact that it can resize it and do all this stuff. That was when my ears really did kind of twitch and go, hold on a second, this sounds really cool. Let me just show you here. Let me just show you what, after I spoke to you, I'll just show you my desktop. This is do you know that scheduler thing you mentioned? This is my scheduler look. I've actually scheduled all this stuff to be posted on social media up until the 16th, because one of the things I was finding was that, you know, when you're doing social media, there's certain things that are spontaneous, like when you're out and about doing stuff. That's not the kind of stuff that you're going to schedule. But for those of us who create content, who've got businesses and stuff like that, there are things that you need to share every now and again and promote and what have you. And that can take up time. But literally to schedule stuff all the way up to the 16th there, which is promotional stuff, mentioning events, reels that I've already made and stuff like that, it took me about half an hour to do 2 weeks worth of posts. I mean, it's just unbelievably good.
And we only spoke 24 hours ago
24
about
hours ago
it.
about the scheduler. And also, when you talk about the stuff that you can make, I mean, I know that you've just brought some stuff in directly from Photoshop, but what I did do, if I just come down to here, my recent stuff, this is for next week's guest. And this is, I made the graphic for next week's guest, because what I would normally have to do in Photoshop is make this and then make all the other different sizes. But I made this all in Express, really simple, dragging stuff in. And then I clicked a button and it gave me 3 different sizes that I need to use. One for the reel and one for a square post on Instagram. And it was just done like that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I used to have every single week, I'd have admin that I would do for this live broadcast, which, you know, I love doing. But don't get me wrong, my Monday mornings were taken up entirely by creating the new graphics and doing all those kind of stuff there. Now, it just sounds crazy that I create one of them in Adobe Express by dragging. Don't have to worry about layers and that stuff. Clicked one button and it gave me the other 2 versions. I was like, oh, that's just crazy. That's just absolutely crazy, but so useful. I mean, it's saving me a ton of time. So
I've just seen Ian say, our friend Ian Sayers is in the room, and and Ian's been working with Adobe Express for a lot longer, and you know, I've had many a conversation with him about where Express is going and what it does, and it is still growing. He's just pointed out, when InDesign, you know, as a heavy InDesign user, when I can bring InDesign files into Adobe Express as well to create assets, because it's about the whole Adobe suite being available. One of the other things that we'll move on to is something that we talked about yesterday was video.
We'll definitely come on to that. But I'm just seeing some comments here, Dave, just quickly, because this is all being very. First one is, look who's here. Scott Deuce is here. Hey.
It's royalties out.
Legend Scott User. Scott, you were a what a pod. Well, I loved that broadcast for you. That was so good. Those images and stuff, brilliant. But Stuart Wood has just said, so can I bring my current YouTube template from Photoshop and start using Express? So he's obviously got something that he's made in Photoshop with his stuff for his thumbnails and stuff. He can, like you say, bring it in and he can change the relay. You might have to move a few things around afterwards, but nothing like you do in Photoshop, Stuart. It's unbelievably good.
Yeah, and also, like, remember as well, if you bring in a flat image. So one of the things I was trying to do that I need to go off and explore was bringing in a linked version versus bringing it into Adobe Express. I found the linked version didn't bring the layers in, so I'd have to go back to Photoshop and adjust it. So if you bring in something that you've already made and then flattened and then bring it into Adobe Express, it's flat. It's only going to bring layers. Whereas if you use a template in Adobe Express, it's going to give you those layers straight away. So, for example, another thing that I did was like you, I know you do the same. Like, what can I do to fox it? So I thought, I know what I do. I'll go to Adobe Express. So again, you free, you can go to Adobe Express, and I thought I'll download a PSD template for a flyer, for thinking of something that maybe, Glyn might want to use this. So now the thing is with Adobe Stock, what's really good is you download a PSD-T, which is a template. And the beautiful thing about a Photoshop template is when you open it, it makes you save it as something else so that you maintain the original one. So I downloaded this PSD and I thought, right, okay, it's got fonts in it, it's got images. I want to bring it into Adobe Express and see how it handles. So I saved it as a PSD. If we jump back to my screen, I've got it here. So I'm just going to open it and I'm going to bring it in as a PSD file. It's going to have a look at what's inside. Now, it's got Adobe fonts. So when I bring it in, it's already got a font that I've got installed through Adobe Fonts. And if it didn't, there would be a warning. It would say you would need to change the font. I mean, look how quick it brings it in. It's just
crazy, isn't it?
Getting it ready for Adobe Express. But what I liked about this was, again, there's a couple of things move around, but let's just put it here. So I was thinking, right, Glyn does a lot of classes and things and events, and maybe if we could come up with a flyer design that would be Glyn's brand that we could use all of the time. And so I've got some assets here and you can see they're all layers. And I was going through it and thinking, okay, I can edit this. And I thought, QR code. Hang on a minute. If I go back to I want a QR code here. If I go back to that home screen, I can go back. So stock flyer demo, I'm just going to go back here. Where was it? I come down here. There was a QR code. I go in, I put HTTPS and then glynjewis.com. I can change its style, so I can make it like a rounded style. I can make it a little dot style. Change the border.
While you've got that on the screen there, mate, anybody that's watching this now, test this out because look how quick it created that. Just get your phones up to it and press the link that comes up, and that'll take you through. This is how quick it is. It'll take you through to my website. It's just crazy.
I'm going to count down 5, right? Everyone,
no, you carry on. You carry on, mate.
Yeah. So you can even change the color, but I like traditional, good old black ones. So all I'm going to do is just download it. It's downloaded it to my downloads. So I'll just go to my downloads folder off screen. Come back here. Going to come back down the bottom to recent. It's going to open it up. I want my QR code here. So I'll come over to the left-hand side, upload. Go to my downloads. There was a QR code. Let's just get rid of that.
Yeah.
Bring my QR code, resize it, pop it underneath there. And now that's always in there. So obviously we go in, we change the type. Let's just do the theme. So for this YouTube session, I've got my brands here. So, Glyn, remind me CC libraries. So I've got Glyn Jewis. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on Glyn. And it's not done all of them. Again, there's a couple of things it doesn't always change. But if I click on any of these, you can see that will have an effect on the style of the document depending on which color schemes. But I know I've got a 𝐿 brand, so I can manually adjust some of these. But the thing that's cool about the brand is I had created in Adobe Photoshop, in Illustrator, I created a CC library for 𝐿's assets, because obviously when I'm working in the Adobe apps, I want to access CC library. But when I came into Adobe Express, if I go into your stuff, I go into libraries. Now, I've not got it at the moment because I actually already converted it. But let's just say, I don't know if this is going to work, but yeah, here we go. So if you create a project, so I created 𝐿's brand, I put his logos in, I put his colors in, and I have that as a CC library. Because I can access my CC libraries right here inside Adobe Express, I can convert this and say use as brand, and it will swap it from CC libraries into Adobe Express. And now the brand will be inside here. So when I come down here, I have my one that I created for today. So if I click on that, the brand, the color palettes, the text, the fonts, everything, we're all inside. So anything I've already got in CC libraries, I can just convert to a brand for Adobe Express. Now, the cool thing about this is, right, I've made it. I'm sat here talking to Glenn. He's seen this and gone, oh, actually, I quite fancy using that. So what can I do? Go to download and, oh, hold on. Let me just, this isn't going to work now. Oh, do you know what? It did this earlier. Hold on. Let me just open. Let me just go back home and open. Let's just open this one, see if it will do it. Because it has caught me out a couple of times. Yeah, it's not doing it now. Ian might be able to help me, actually.
So what should it do? Just so
basically, what it should do is I've created a template. And what I want to... Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong button. It's been a long day. Share. Not download, share. So again, this is that flyer, but I made some changes to it. I brought in an image from Adobe Stock. I just thought, oh, I need an image for this. Let's just come over here. We'll put an image in. I could do a search for it. I won't do that now, but the thing I wanted to do was share. So I can copy the link and send it to Glenn, and he can then access it, but I can also save it as a remixable template. So I can add it to the brand library for Glenn. So I'm going to choose, we're going to call it GD, Glenn YouTube session, or no, I want it in 𝐿. I can add a note and say, this is only for teaching. So that's just a note inside, and then save the template. So now I can share that with Glenn, or I can send him a link. So now when Glenn goes into his brand, this flyer will be inside. And if I wanted to, I won't do it now because I know we're short for time, but I can actually lock certain parts out so that he can't move them or he can't adjust them, because we all know we've sent designs over to people and they've gone, oh, actually, no, I quite like papyrus. And I want a picture of a kitten.
Oh no,
don't get me
Anthony was saying
honestly,
earlier on, can you change things into a kitten? No.
Honestly, I love kittens and unicorns, but honestly, if I see one more Adobe session, live stream, anything which's got kittens, unicorns, or gorillas in spacesuits on the back of a horse on the moon with an aurora borealis in the background, yeah,
I think this is one of the things. Seeing that, it was kind of like, you know, when the internet first came out and people, I can go online, and you'd do and you'd connect online. You go, right, now what do I look for? And you would surf the internet for any old rubbish. I think that's the kind of thing that initially happened with Adobe Express, because it was something brand new and people were like, I want to try something out. What should I do? And they're just coming up with random ideas. But unfortunately, that kind of carried on. But yeah, whereas we kind of wanted to show tonight that this is more of a you know, it's not a gimmick. This is an incredibly powerful bit of kit. It really, really
Very
is.
powerful tool. Just to show you how powerful it is. Earlier
Hmm.
we made resize versions, so I'm just going to quickly do that again. I'm going to do a TikTok video and I'm going to do YouTube thumbnail. So I'm going to duplicate and resize. So it's
Oh,
made me
wow.
some alternatives, right? But let's just go into one of them. Let's go into this. But let's just say I've also got an international audience, say
Oh, yes. Yeah,
German,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
big German audience. Well, I don't want to go on Google. I want to translate it for my German audience. So all pages, I want to create German. It's going to select German. I can pick another language if I want. I can create as many languages as I want. So I'm going to click duplicate and translate. And now what it's done is it's created German versions for me that I can now schedule at different times of day. So let's say you were creating it for maybe like further into Europe or back in the other direction. You can then schedule for different times because you know your audience is going to be
That's
waking up
really
at a different
clever.
time. So
We did
it does
when you
that
showed me
straight
that
away.
the other day. We kind of tested it out because I used to do quite a lot of work over in Indonesia. Every year I'd be over there doing some stuff, and I said, "Oh, what if I can do Indonesian?" And sure enough, I had my YouTube graphic thing with a
Yeah.
few words on it, Indonesian. Bang! It was done within seconds. Just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal bit of kit.
Yeah. And again,
So that
I'm not even scratching the surface here. I mean, this is just like the first things I wanted to show, but I know that obviously there's one thing you wanted to show that
yes,
I
yeah. All right. Well,
linked you up with.
I'll dive over to that now. Now,
You do
one of
that.
the things I'll do that now. Well, one of the things I like to do, if you follow me on social media, you'll know that certainly like after Sunday evenings when we've had these lives throughout the week, then I'll put the occasional kind of like reels out on Instagram, those vertical videos, and you'll see as they're doing it. The thing to do with those is that you have, as people are speaking, you see the words come up on the screen. Now, ordinarily, I'd be doing that in Premiere Pro because it's very, very capable bit of software. It's able to do it, but it takes a bit of time. I need to sit at my computer to do it. And sometimes it doesn't save the style that I want to create. However, I can do it. And I have now been doing it all in Adobe Express. And this is for anybody out there. I see my friend Stuart's out there. This is something for my friend Ian for his videos, for Anthony, for everybody else that does videos that you post online, reels on social media. This is incredibly easy. Let me just dive over to my screen, see if I can kind of show you. So let me just go over to here. Now, you'll remember when Dave kind of showed this home screen thing here. There's a couple of ways you can access this, but I'm just going to do it by coming down to this suggested quick actions section just here. And I'll click on view all, and you can see there's all these different things that you can do here. And one of them, see here, look, caption video, right? Unbelievable. So I'm going to click on caption video. It'll then ask me to bring in a video that I've got. So what I'll do is I'll browse, and I recorded a real simple one earlier on. Let's see if I can find it. I'll put it on my desktop in Adobe Express, this little one here. It's only a short video, and I'll click to open that up, and you'll see now it's bringing the video in. Now, not the best stationery. Look at that freeze frame there. So it's now... I'm just going to dive away from that for a second. It's now analyzing the video. It's importing it and it's translating it. So it's going to create the text and stuff like that. I just think when it does this now, how quick it does it compared to how much time and effort it takes me to do it in Premiere Pro is just phenomenal. So let's just dive back to my screen.
Yeah.
I'm just going to live with it. There's the
You
thumbnail.
look happy.
Do you know what? I remember. Yeah, I do look. And look, this is what makes me laugh here. Look. So this is me, Glenn. This is like a standing joke that me and Dave had whenever I'm in the States. And it's a strange name to say when you're in the States, but I've always called Glenn when it's Glyn. And Dave was going to design a T-shirt that said, it's Glyn, not Glenn. But anyway,
Yeah.
back over to my screen. But look, see how quick that was there. Look, so if I just play this, I don't know if the audio will come through for you, but let me just play it. That's how quick it's done it. Now, obviously, there was a word which was wrong. So what I can do is I can just scroll along to where it was. There it is. Here is the text box, and I can just come in and I can just change it. So there, that's changed. Now, I love this style here where you have the block behind the text as it's being said. But if that's not your thing, you can also change it to all kinds of different ones. There's loads of different styles. So if I play this one here now, look. Yeah, no, it just blows me away. So I'll stick with my blocks one there. I can also change the colouring and stuff like that. But if I open it in the editor, that'll send it back over to the main sort of work area here within Adobe Express. I can just bring over here and I can click on it and I can just reposition it down here. So that's there. That there has created a real simple way of doing a reel. It's added the text for me, the captions, which look exactly how I want them to look. But this is what I've been doing this morning when I was scheduling all that stuff. A few reels that I created. Then all I did was I went over to my schedule. In fact, I did what Dave said to do. Give it a name. So I'll call this reel. Let's just say there. And then I would just go to the home screen. I go to my scheduler and I'll say, right, I want to post that tomorrow. So I'll click on the plus. It's going to be a new post. And I'm going to go send it onto Instagram. And it's going to be a reel. I'd put my text in there. I can add a first comment in there. And there's the time and date that I want it to go to. It is just phenomenally easy. I can't begin to explain, maybe my enthusiasm is doing a little bit of it, but I can't begin to explain how much time I am now going to be saving because of what Dave showed me in the week with a few little things like how I now create my graphics for the YouTube lives. I create one, I press a button, it resizes it. I want to make my reels with the fonts on it. I can take the horizontal video, click a button, it'll resize it to vertical video, and I can add the text, the captions done just like that. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And this is just scratching the scratch on the surface. Just incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And another thing that's cool as well that Glenn didn't show you there, you'll notice at the bottom of the video when he took it into the editor, there was a timeline. So you can also bring in 3-4 different pieces of footage. So if you've ever used a video editor or Premiere Pro, it works kind of the same way, or Premiere Rush on the phone, is you can bring in footage, and let's say you want maybe a bit of B-roll, you can go over to the left-hand side. In fact, if you want to jump to my screen, I'll go back here. So
this is what I love about this, Dave, is because you know, people like Ian, my friend Ian, who says he's not he can't do video editing. This is going to make editing a video so easy from scratch. You know, my friend Anthony does, you know, starts and records some videos. This is going to be incredibly useful. You can have text come flying in. You can have layers of video, different sound effects. And like Ian says as well, Ian Sayers, who's, you know, very adept on this here, Ian quite rightly has said, you can even fix the audio. You might remember, sorry, I'm carrying on in here, but you might remember a while back.
Yeah.
That there was this thing that Adobe brought in, I forget the name of it now, but I was on one of the testing things for it, where it can enhance the audio. So you put in some not so good audio and it fixes it, makes it sound good. It's also built now into Premiere Pro beta, I believe. This is in Adobe Express. So if you've got a recording and you want to make a video, the recording isn't that good, you can click on a button, the AI works on it, and it improves the audio. It's just phenomenal. It's great. Yeah. I'll go back onto your screen anyway.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'll just make sure it's in the middle so everyone can see it. So what I did was I went over to media on the left hand. So I said create a TikTok video. So I've got it here, 1920 by 1080. 1080 by 1920. I've got a timeline down here. I've got nothing in there at the moment, so there's nothing there. So I typed in vertical video soccer. So then I'll get some vertical videos. We've got the Euros coming up next week for all you football fans. So let's just say I want to bring in some footage. So you can see straight away down here, I'm going to click this layer time in because I can also see if I want to add something in here, I can decide how long it's going to be. So at the moment, I don't want the footage that long. I want it shorter. I want to add a scene. So this time I'm going to let's add some people cheering. So now you can see if I go back to the start, hit play, it's going to bring in that video. I can also bring in audio. It's going to switch to this. So again, it's too long. I want to bring it down here. If I wanted to, I can also add some text on top. But the other thing as well is in between, I can also add a transition. So I can say, let's do a push. So now when I press play, what it's going to do is it's going to slide. I'm not even, you know, if you're not even a video editor, this is so intuitive that you can bring in your own video. But again, like I said, you can bring in some of these free assets and use it as kind of a B-roll background. You can obviously automatically do all your captions. You can add effects, you can add music, you can add type on top, and you can decide where that type comes in. And when I showed you the animation earlier on the graphic, you can also decide where on the timeline, because again, it's creating a video timeline. You rather than have all the effects all happen at the same time, you can determine when those effects come into play throughout the video and how long you want it to be.
Yeah.
So, and
It is
this is all,
brilliant.
just here. It's not. You don't. I mean, obviously, like with all the apps, you can go and use Premiere Pro. I'd always recommend to anybody going right back to the start of this. Obviously, learn Photoshop, learn InDesign, learn Illustrator, learn Premiere Pro. If you're going to do this as a job, learn the big boy apps, learn the powerful stuff. But if you just want to make things, like, don't let people look down their nose at you. Well, if you're going to create stuff in Adobe Express, because I've seen content from the people that I've been watching over the past year who have really been in Adobe Express from day one. And I challenge you to guess whether they made it in Adobe Express or Premiere Pro or Photoshop.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
the ease and speed, what's there.
I'm seeing, Dave, I'm seeing, the amount of people that we've got in the chat room here. There's names that are coming up. Again, I've mentioned Ian quite a few times, but I think this is made for Ian. This is like, there can be no stopping you putting content together with this. It is incredibly simple and intuitive to use, Ian. And I'll, when we get together soon, I'll show you some more stuff. But Stuart Wood, I can see Jamie Peters, former guest on here. Jamie, wonderful wildlife photographer. And I see him posting images out there. I mean, what Jamie could do with this to display his images and the reels, just do it so easily. It's just phenomenal. Absolutely love it. Really love it.
The thing we mentioned earlier that we've not mentioned today was I was chatting to our friend Alan Hess, and he had been to Washington, and I won't. Yeah, maybe I'll see if I can get it, but. Ian went to Washington and we were talking about it, and I said about I was going to do this Adobe Express thing, and he went, "Oh yeah, I was in Washington and I took all these photos on my phone. I edited them in Lightroom on my phone, and then I just went to Adobe Express and I made a gallery." So those of you who remember Adobe Spark, a Spark is now Adobe. What you used to see in Spark is now in Adobe Express. He just made a gallery and it auto resized and put everything in this gallery, and it knew which images to put in which frames. And I shared it with Glyn the other day, and it was just like, there it is. Sent me the link. I can look at all the pictures. I can click on it. It enlarges. It's there. But thinking about what you said about Ian Monroe, Ian's doing this charity thing over the next few weeks, where he's going out, he's doing practice walks, but he's going to be developing content for it. Now he's going to be out, he's have his phone on him, he's taking some footage, he can be doing updates, he can be creating content, saying what he's going to be up to today. He can get up in the morning, do it all, schedule it, get back at the end of the day, bring his footage in, put up some stories, schedule it, and he's up and out at 6 o'clock in the morning walking. It's perfect for stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just brilliant.
And that's why now amazing. I'm like, it's try it. It's best I can say is try it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, I mean, time has just gone like that. Understandably, today, going through this kind of practical stuff, it really has flown by. So, obviously, we talked about, this new for you. This is very new for you, and you're kind of doing some great stuff with it. I've literally 48 hours ago started playing with it, and I've created some stuff. Actually, folks, watch for the ending of this broadcast. That was done with Adobe Express, all right? I'll show you.
I don't even know what this is.
He doesn't even know what I've done. But it's just fun. It took me literally about 2 minutes to do it. It's dead easy. But yeah, it's exciting times, very, very exciting times. So I think what we're going to do is we'll speak off air about doing more of this stuff when you become much more comfortable with it as well. Because this thing, as Ian has, I've seen he's posted in the chat there, this is just going to get better and better and bigger and bigger. And we're going to be able to do so much stuff which ordinarily would have taken just masses of effort. It's going to take hardly any time at all to create stuff which is just really, really good quality.
Yeah. Dave Cross, what did I miss? I was not playing with Express.
As long as it wasn't AI stuff, Dave, the old unicorns and kittens, and that's good. But I very much doubt you did that anyway. But no. Dave, listen, I'm going to we're going to look at wrapping this up. But is there anything that you wanted to add before we do that? Is there anything that, because obviously I want you to sort of let people know where the best place is to follow you.
Yes.
We will
if you want to
talk
jump
about. Oh, go on. I'll go to your
back
screen. Hold on.
to, yeah, go to my screen. I'll open this up. So let's go back to the original. So as you know, I wrote a book on InDesign, and I do a newsletter about once a month. It's whenever I feel I've got something good to share. But can I mention the thing we spoke about, Glyn,
Yeah, go on. Go
behind
for it.
this? Yeah. Okay. So if you sign up to the design newsletter, just go to bit.ly InDesign book. You can get 2 free PDF sampler downloads of the book. I think it's like over 50 InDesign tips there. Just download them as a PDF. But the thing that Glyn and I have said we're going to do is anybody who signed up to my newsletter or Glyn's newsletter, we are going to do a webinar only for people who have signed up to the newsletters, where we're going to do a bit more of a deeper dive in Express, and we're going to actually do a project where we're going to go through and make different assets for one project and go a little bit deeper into the settings. So if you want kind of a follow-up to this and want to see something specific, we're going to do this for everyone so the link will go out through our newsletters to join, and we're going to decide when we're going to do it. But it's 𝐷aveClayton.com is my website, which I'm currently updating, and it's Dave Clayton is social media, and obviously there's the free stuff for the book. Cool. So yeah, I'd love it if you could sign up.
Yeah, we'll make a point of through our own newsletters letting you know what's going on. But the reason we're going to put it through the newsletter is because obviously I don't want to dominate this live broadcast with Adobe Express stuff. When there's some very new stuff comes in that's just like, oh my God, then we'll dive on and we'll show that. But I thought if we kind of keep it to people within the newsletter, that we can have a bit more interaction with people, show them the new stuff, and there'll be shorter videos. We could maybe dive on, in a week and do like 15, 20 minutes or even half an hour just to show you some more stuff, little bite-sized things that you can get to learn how to use it. Because genuinely, I am psyched about this. I'm already thinking about this week. There's so much I haven't got to do now because I did it this morning, literally by clicking buttons, and it was just done, automated. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
I've just had a comment. Bit.ly, hang on. Anyone clicking on the Bit.ly link, sorry. I always do bit.ly, bit.ly in lowercase, but InDesign book has to be in uppercase. So I'm just going to check it. Yeah, I'm just going to. So I've just put in bit.ly InDesign book.
Ian's just said as well that it needs to be in caps. So there you go.
Yes, yeah, it needs to be in caps. So it goes straight here. And all you need to do is just fill in your email address, first and last name, and then you can click download and you can go and get the 2 free downloads. So yeah, cool. Sorry about that.
Great comment from Brian here that it's his better half, Natalie. She's engrossed watching this and be looking to embrace it in her day job, obviously, because Natalie does a lot of designing type stuff within her day job. Yeah. So, man, this is going to be so useful. But Dave, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been great getting you back on, and to do it so soon into you discovering this, I think is brilliant. Rather than you saying, "Oh, let's do it in a few months," and I'm really like, I know everything and anything about it. For you to be excited to want to be able to share it quickly, that's great. So thank you so much for that.
And the purpose of this, I've said to you before, is I don't want to do like a vanilla job on this. You know what I'm like with what I teach. Yeah. I want to find the things in Adobe Express that enthuse me, that I can teach other people. So if you want to learn how to make marketing products, like I will teach that in Adobe Express. I'm not going to be going off using all the Firefly stuff and using all the gimmicks and things. I want to teach the things that are useful, that save your time and help you make really cool stuff, rather than being kind of guided in areas that are not necessarily helpful. You kind of, I'm making it, but I don't really want it to be like that. But no one's showing me how to make it look like my own thing. So that's the content I'm going to be making going forward. Brilliant. So if you've got any requests, contact me.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Exciting times. Right, Dave. I'll see you in the green room afterwards.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, so don't disappear. Listen, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll come and have a chat with you in a moment. So let me just, I'll do that. And then I'll do that. Wow. Okay. My mind is literally just boom with the stuff, because the more you experiment and look into this Adobe Express stuff, the more you think, oh my God, I didn't even realize I could do that. It's definitely one of those kind of functions, or those kind of apps, if you like, where it pays to just be inquisitive. Click on this, click on that. What happens if I click on the timeline? What happens if I click on the picture? What happens if... and you'll just discover stuff. And the great thing is the stuff that you discover is just drag and drop. So easy to create stuff that in the bigger apps will take a lot more learning and knowledge and time to do. So yeah, very exciting times. We'll keep you updated with how we're going to progress this so that you can get to know more about it. But I'm going to wrap this up. Keep an eye out for the ending. I'll just quickly go through the admin side of things again, just to remember that, remind you rather, that if you are in the UK and you just happen to fancy a nice journey over to West Wales this coming weekend, go to Kidwelly. There's going to be a fantastic exhibition. My friend Nigel Thomas, it's his first exhibition. It's on for 2 days. Starts at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. And like I said before, I am honoured that he's asked me to open that. I cannot wait to see his stuff in person. Nothing better than seeing, you know, prints, certainly like the things he's been doing in person. So I'm very much looking forward to that. The other thing was, again, date for the diary, 22nd, I shall be at the Wales and West show. It is a great show, very family feel to it. It's not a huge show, but it's a great feel there. Looking forward to that. I'll be on stage on the Saturday. I'll keep you informed about the Calibrite link for the free webinar coming up on July the 11th at 6 p.m. UK. And there was that final request from me about veterans. If you do know any veterans, World War II veterans, I'm talking about in the UK, please get in touch, let me know. It would be great to include them now that I've got that fire back in the belly and I feel that I'm able to do them again. It would be great to do that. But before I go, one last thing to let you know. Next week, I'm obviously on next week. Really excited about this one because I have followed this guy from day one and I've learned so much from this man. I really have when it comes to lighting. Bert Stefani, an incredible photographer, wonderful guy. I can't wait to show you his stuff. Those of you who don't know his stuff, it is just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So that is for next week. But that's all for this week. So my thanks again to Dave for joining me, and I'll catch you back here next week, 7 p.m. UK time at the same place. Have a great week.